Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Hare Krishna, welcome to another episode of the Welsh Yogi Podcast.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And in today's episode...
It's been a little while, I think. It's been 2 weeks.
Right, okay.
So...
Because you were inspired by something you listened to recently? You listened to a podcast about...
Yeah.
Your life and your goals and that?
No, I've just been thinking about... just taking a little second out of the momentum, out of the river. Like I was in Butte Park the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking at the River Taff.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting if you stare at the river for a while, like, then you look at the ground and the ground starts moving.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's similar, like, I was looking like, if you catch one point of the river and just stare at that point, before you know it's past, it's gone, like, and moments in life are a bit like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't really hold on to a moment for very long. Like, you can be in a moment for a while, but then before you know it's a year's gone, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You're always looking at a different part of the river, aren't you? There's an example of that about, like, the body. Like, as the body grows, actually, you always have a different body. Like Krishna says, what's that verse? As you go from boyhood to youth to old age, the body is always changing, just like the river is always flowing. You're always seeing it. You're always seeing a different part of the river because the part you're looking at 1 second's gone the next.
Yeah.
So similarly, the body is always changing, like everything that's material, but the soul's the same.
Yeah, and I was thinking we got to kind of plan our course, plan our route, because there's bits of water that end up caught in rock pools and they don't go anywhere. You know, like there's the flow.
Yeah.
The flow's going one way, but you want to be in the right current.
Mm.
You get, just making a metaphor here, but
Yeah, I mean, like when we went to this GBC college in India, we had to. They taught all of these sort of secular ideas and how to like create, manage projects, things like that. And they talked about things like making a mission statement. So if you have a certain project or a business or an organization, you have a mission statement that says, okay, these are the ideals of our organization. This is what we want to move towards. Like, I think Amazon's is something like, we will be the most customer-based company and be able to give the buyer whatever they want or something like that. So one thing to do is write a mission statement for your life. I remember my spiritual teacher, Shiva Ramaraj, he wrote a mission statement for himself years ago, and he picked it back up after a few decades, and he was pleased to see that he's still living his life within these ideals that he had previously. So I think that's quite an interesting exercise if you were just to write down, okay, what's my mission statement in my life? What do I want to be? And you have something else called a vision statement, which is, you know, looking at the future. But yeah, I think we should know what we want to do in this life, isn't it? And set goals to, because you're saying the water might get trapped here or there.
But easily happens. Like, we get caught in ruts. Find ourselves doing the same thing again and again and again. Sort of lost focus, like, wait, why am I doing this? What am I doing here?
Yeah,
like
that's why you got to keep reminding yourself, isn't it? You got to have a compass. Look at your, you know, if you're traveling anywhere, or if you're driving in Google Maps, or whatever, you need to keep seeing where you're going, keep looking at the road. I did a lot of driving recently, and I kept getting lost, you know, because I wasn't looking at the map enough.
Yeah. It's the worst when you're on the motorway and you miss the turning.
You have to drive for like another half hour and turn back, and
it's like lost time.
And that's what happens in life if you don't always look at your sat nav.
Yeah.
You know, then you just go off one place and you could waste a lot of time trying to get back to where you're going, or you could, if you never look at it, then you just keep driving in the wrong direction. So as human beings, we need to, you know, have a mission in life and actually write it down. It can be different for all of us, but the yoga texts of India and Krishna encourages in the Bhagavad Gita that, you know, if you really want to experience pleasure, you really want to advance your consciousness, then there's a certain spiritual lifestyle that you have to do. There's do's and don'ts that can augment your life in a spiritual way. Yeah.
For me, I find like these books we distribute written by Srila Prabhupada, he's got purports. I feel like these purports are like a compass for my life. Like, if ever I feel a little bit lost, I can just open a book and just start reading it. and it's like if you're in the right mood when you read it, like I'm feeling a little bit like I've lost my, like you say, my vision. Like, where am I really? I feel a bit stagnant. Like I'm in a rock pool. If you just start reading the words and let them kind of flow into your ears, like read it out loud. That's the secret, actually, because all of Vedic knowledge was passed down orally. So if you just read this knowledge out loud, then it has an even more potent effect. But yeah, just read these purports, and sometimes it's like, it's exactly what I need to hear right now, and it's bringing me closer to that. Because my mission certainly is self-realization, and to become like a kind of a beacon of like spirituality that other people can touch, and also become more spiritual. Because I've met others like yourself, or Tarak Nath, or Shivaram Swami, or different personalities that luckily I've crossed paths with. I've seen like these, wow, okay, these people are in a different state of consciousness, you know, and just seeing that inspires me to want to be like that. So if your goal is to understand the self, understand who you are and how you fit into this crazy mad reality, like how you truly fit into it, then the purports are definitely an amazing sat-nav for that.
Yeah, reading Srila Prabhupada's books is powerful, because I think generally, as growing up, at least in the West and perhaps all over the world, we're not used to reading philosophy. So it takes some time to actually get the brain sort of used to actually hearing philosophy, and especially if you read out loud, it makes it much more easier, much more easier to taste it. And I found also, even if I'm not in the mood or not in a correct mood, and I don't feel like, you know, picking up the spiritual books like the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, but if I do it anyway, then the heart becomes illuminated, and the right mood actually becomes manifest. It's the magic of hearing spiritual soundness contained in Prabhupada's books.
And I think we were talking about that maybe a couple of weeks ago, about if you don't feel like doing the action, but you do it anyway, then the feeling comes from the action. What were we talking about that? Like, I don't feel like reading, but then when you start reading, then you feel like reading. Yeah. Like it feeds back on itself.
Yeah, you have to get into it.
It's like that with anything that's going to be beneficial for us. There's going to be a little bit of short-term suffering, isn't there? Generally, you know, like not suffering but austerity, like discomfort, or that's what Stoicism is about. Like the obstacle is the way. Like the thing that you least want to do is probably the thing you should be doing. You know,
I mean, you have Rupa Goswami. He talks about the what's that verse? It'll come to me. He talks about how the transcendental activities of the soul, like chanting Hare Krishna or reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, they're actually transcendently sweet, like sugar candy. They're very, very sweet, and you can't actually get enough of it. But because of this soul, that's it. Krishna Nam Charitis Tadapi Avidya. That because we're covered by this avidya, or this ignorance. Vidya means knowledge, and a is like a negative syllable in Sanskrit, so it means no knowledge. You know, you're covered by ignorance, and then you can't actually taste the sweetness of spiritual activity. So you might first engage in some spiritual life, and it might seem a bit bitter. Just like what he gives the example, if one has jaundice, if one tastes sugar candy, you'll taste it to be bitter, even though sugar candy is naturally sweet. But one of the cures for jaundice is you gradually apply sugar candy, and then eventually the bitterness, your conception of the bitterness will go, and the natural sweet taste of the sugar will start to become manifest on your tongue. So the same happens with chanting Hare Krishna. I mean, chanting Hare Krishna, these things are very sweet anyway, even for brand new beginners. But when you start to become a bit more serious about spiritual life, and you have to buckle down on a few things, then what might seem at first bitter then gradually starts to become very, very sweet.
Yeah, that bitterness certainly comes out though. If anyone who started chanting at first with that sweetness, like it has this effect of like pulling out the bitterness. Is actually like our own.
Yeah, it's a jaundice.
It's like our own badness. It's like our own. You know
it's avidya, ignorance.
Yeah, our own condition. Like I was thinking, like we got so many things that we're so like we know that are in ourselves, in our subconscious, like darkness or whatever. We're too afraid to confront it, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean there are things like that. But sometimes, like we were discussing this morning in class, sometimes we focus too much on the negativity, even if it's, it's good to focus on the positive sort of pro-spiritual aspects of life. And yeah, sure, there's some things that, psychologically you just might have to confront and deal with and really get in touch with certain emotions. But I think one trap is that, you can meditate too much on the things that are stopping you, too much on your own limitations, but then the mind just gets absorbed in these horrible things. But actually, if you engage the mind in thinking of the spiritual reality, then naturally, as Lord Chaitanya says, Chaitadapanam Bhavamaha, the fire of material existence starts to disappear and the heart starts to be cleaned by Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. I thought it's quite an interesting point. Lord Chaitanya, he doesn't say focus on the anarthas and try to deal with them. And he says, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. By chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then everything does happen naturally. That's why advancement in spiritual life can be quite easy.
It's interesting. So that you reminded me of that Vaisheshika Prabhu says, where attention goes, energy flows. So yeah, if you focus on the negative, dark aspects of
too
life,
much, yeah.
Then
it's
you're
good
not
to
becoming
becoming
Krishna
Krishna conscious.
There,
You're becoming anartha conscious.
Got to get the balance right, because if you could be in straight denial, like, no, I'm good, and then eventually,
because denial, like you have that psychologist Boysen. Have you listened to those seminars?
Listen to one or two
by
Ravinder Sarup.
Yeah, and this Boysen, he was a psychologist, psychiatrist, something like that, and he started notice that people who had had some sort of high ideal or high spiritual goal in their lives, as they were trying to achieve it, if they felt that they couldn't live up to the standard, or if they made some mistake or something like that, if they didn't know how to digest it properly. If you don't know how to digest your mistakes or if you go off track a little bit, then psychological symptoms start to manifest. Instead of dealing with it, you hide like all your own faults and you hide them under the carpet. You won't, if you're having difficulties, you won't reveal them to anyone because you think that they will judge you. And also you can start to, instead of looking at yourself, you start to find faults in others. You start to say, well, they're doing that wrong, they're doing that wrong. And it's a psychological sort of method in order to, and another symptom can be, he calls it a biological scapegoat. So you start to feel like some sickness or something like that, and it can actually start to become manifest. Like I've seen in our own ashrams, the devotees who joined, and then they just came up with this crazy, in one sense, illness. But then when they're in a bit more peacefully situated, then their illness disappeared. So it was, sometimes these things can just happen just because our mind is so powerful.
What would you say to someone who's like, because we've been battered, we've given our trust, and it's just been like betrayed so many times, right? How would you, someone who's like, okay, I've got this problem in my mind, but I just feel like I can't confide it, like I can't vent it, or I can't tell anyone about it because I'm worried that I'll get exploited. Because showing your belly is a scary thing, right?
Showing your belly? Yeah, I know. I'm that young Welsh pretty religious. For some reason, in the opening credits, they did like a close-up of me putting my dhoti on, my robes on, and you could see my belly like squishing up, and I don't know why they did that. But yeah, seeing my belly was horrible.
But you're like emotional belly. My
emotional belly.
Your underside, like showing your weakness, basically. Yeah. What would you say to someone who's like...
You need to find... Well, that's why we need to find someone that we can really confide in. I mean, sometimes just being able to deal with it ourselves is good enough. But, you need to... Like Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Abhichet Sudarachara Bhajate Mamananyapak. That even if one performs the most horrid activity, if you're properly situated, determination, which means if you're still trying your best to, achieve the ideal goal, even if you perform the most horrible activity, you should still be considered saintly, a sadhu. That's why we should never judge people, and we should just always try and help, because what's that saying there? But for the grace of God go I. It could be any of us. So, but there won't be many people like that in our lives. There might be very, very few. But one's fortunate if you could find at least one, or you can develop a relationship that you can reveal your heart, reveal your mind in confidence to someone. Sorry, I'm going off a bit, but in Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami, who's the professor of Bhakti Yoga, he talks about how to advance in spiritual life, and he talks about how to have loving relationships with other people. And there's revealing one's mind in confidence, so finding someone you can trust, and there's also inquiring confidentially. You can make the first step to create that relationship with someone by asking someone confidentially, like, how are you? How's asking these can be quite probing, but in a nice way, questions, and that's how the relationship develops.
I always found it very interesting that it's a loving exchange to reveal your mind, because other loving exchanges in that same verse is giving gifts and
accepting gifts and giving food, accepting food.
Accepting. But that seems like a loving exchange, but it's actually a loving exchange to be honest with someone. Like, this is how I feel, and it's just quite nice, really, isn't it?
Yeah, if you ever.
And I found out if I to someone who's a teacher of mine or whatever, if I just tell them what my main issue is, it feels like it makes that bond stronger. Like it creates because that trust is like I don't know.
Yeah, because it can really help. They say a problem shared is a problem halved. Because you could be there for someone to reveal their mind to you, or you can reveal your mind to someone else, and you don't actually have to find a solution then and there. But just the fact that you've talked to someone and you've been understood can help you understand it, or just the fact that you've listened to someone can establish that relationship. Because a lot of the time, even if we might make some mistakes, what we're really looking for is to be accepted. Which is why when going back to this Boysen psychologist, he'd say that we need to be, because we're looking for acceptance into a social network. And if we practice spiritually, then we want to be accepted into Krishna's social network, including the devotees. And we need to have these loving relationships because we need to be comfortable and we need to gradually progress there. Because another thing that can happen is if you're not living up to the standard, and if you think that the people who you want to be with will reject you because of a certain quality or a certain activity, then you will find a group of people you can hang around with that accept all of that. So, but what that can do is one can actually go into a group of people that accept a lower standard and actually go into a different place. Generally we will gravitate to those social groups of people who will accept us. So, like a criminal, we'll hang around with other criminals who've been to jail and stuff because they know they won't judge each other. But then that person will find it difficult to go into a social network of, you have a type of middle class that really looks down on anything like that. Yeah. And the criminal won't be able to. You might think, I've done this wrong, I really regret it. And then if the other person doesn't understand, so these are little tricky things, like just reflecting what you said earlier, how it's important to really understand ourselves, to be emotionally in touch, and develop these loving relationships. Like
a tool I've been using recently, which really helps understand yourself and introspect, is basically, it sounds crazy, but when I'm driving and when I'm on my own or something, just talk to yourself. I know. So there's some issue, this problem, the way I spoke to this person, I didn't like it. Just speak out loud. Okay, why did I act like that? What makes me always act when this situation comes up? Why do I always act in such a way that I'm harsh or rude or whatever? Maybe it's because when I was younger, so and so happened to me, and really explore the idea out loud to yourself. And I've done it on 2-hour drives, just spoke to myself the whole way. And by the end of it, I just felt weight lifted, just completely rejuvenated. When the problem's big enough, you can speak to yourself for 2 hours. But it is kind of like that, revealing your... Yeah, because that's what they tell you in coaching. You actually know the answers to a lot of your own problems. That's why if someone does say that, okay, I've got this problem, that problem, what you don't do is just quickly try and shoot back an answer. But you ask questions in order to, they clarify, and so you can really understand what they're saying. And by asking these questions, they really start to understand more about what they're going through. And we've all got the same Paramatma, or the same super soul in the heart. And that's where the knowledge comes from. They call it the teacher in the room. You can ask yourself questions and then you get fed the answer. So sometimes we just have to
ask a person or ask ourselves the right questions, and we'll come up ourselves with the answers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's inspiration. Like it's like it gets revealed.
Yeah, like you say, how do I do this? How do I overcome this? Yeah, and then you might get the answer fed through from within your heart.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have to be patient. You have to rely on someone else to give you the answer. Sometimes it might just not be an answer. And you just might have to go through some things for a while.
Yeah. And this is like what you just spoke about, the super soul. Like we hear it in the Bhagavad Gita that there's an aspect of God called the super soul, an aspect of Krishna that's situated in every single living being's heart, and he's witnessing all of our movements, our thoughts, our activities.
Yeah.
And he's our well-wisher, you know. So actually, you're not alone. This is what I found when I was when I was speaking to myself in the car. I was also speaking to that super soul, like because I've always been a bit like praying's weird. Like I always thought praying was weird, like speaking to God or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when I speak to myself, but also aware that God's listening, do you know what I'm saying? Like you can make some kind of, okay.
Yeah, you get fed the answers.
Yeah, you can ask for some help. Yeah.
Because what's that verse? Vedas cham sarva ham eva vedyo vidanta krit vedavit eva chaham. Krishna explains that he is the source of all remembrance and forgetfulness.
Mm.
So if you're asking yourself some questions, Krishna can, from within the heart, because it says in the Upanishad that it's just like two birds in a tree. The body's the tree, and the two birds, you've got one bird that's eating all the fruits and tasting the fruits of bitterness, happiness and distress. So the tree's like the body, and the one bird that's tasting the fruits is the individual soul. And we're tasting these different fruits of piety, impiety, happiness and distress in this world. And then there's the other bird that's just watching his friend, waiting for us to turn to him, and that's Krishna from within the heart.
Just hoping, like
watching every activity, waiting for us to turn to him, waiting for us to just get, okay, once you've had enough of the fruits in the tree and you realize, okay, there's bitterness and happiness, but it's not really
there's no relationship. It's just me enjoying this external.
Yeah, and it's not giving us the happiness we're really looking for,
Mm.
So Rupa Goswami, there's another Smeram Bangi Charaparjitam Sachi Jisting Bangsi Nastadharaka Shalyam Ujuram Chanchakena Govind Yakyam Haritan Rakeshatetu Bakante Ma Prakisha Stavigati Sake Bandhu Sanges Trirangaha. He says that if you're attached to this material world, then don't go towards Krishna. Because Krishna, he's so attractive that he will capture your mind and bring you to his loving pastimes. It's sort of like a play on the whole situation. But if one starts turning to Krishna, then one gets so attracted, that one will start to leave the material things anyway. Leave the bitterness and sweetness of the material fruits of this world.
Nice. Yeah, it's a process, isn't it?
Yeah, a process of gradually rediscovering the sweet taste of our eternal spiritual identity. Like there's another verse that he says, when I chant the mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, I desire many, many ears and many, many tongues in order to really hear it and to really relish it. The holy name dance on my tongue, conquers all the activities of the senses. It dances in the courtyard of the heart, makes all the senses inert, and one starts to experience real spiritual life. These are things that need to be discovered by the sincere spiritual practitioner.
Very interesting.
It sounds quite far out, but it's very accessible.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, getting to know yourself is important. I got a list here actually of get to know back to Rupa a bit more.
Oh God.
Right, I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Are they quick?
Quick fire, yeah.
Okay, good.
Don't think about too much, but just so we can understand you more.
Yeah, I'm on a mellow yellow today.
Okay. Some of these this might be interesting. Okay, these are the questions. Getting to know you, getting to know. Who's your hero?
Prabhupada?
Prabhupada. Yeah, you don't have to think about it too much. Just
No.
if you could live anywhere, where would you live? Where would it be?
Somewhere with a view.
Somewhere with a view. What was your favourite family vacation?
Somewhere with a view in nature. Can I just add to that?
Okay, yeah.
Favourite family vacation was to Hungary last month.
What would you change about yourself if you could?
Harshness,
Be less harsh.
Harshness of speech,
It comes out sometimes.
I just got a very good way of smashing someone like verbally from a couple of years working in the factory. And
okay, well, this goes into the next question. And what really makes you angry?
when I don't get what I want.
You don't get what you want. Okay, what motivates you to work hard?
Helping others.
Helping others. What's your favourite thing about your career?
The boys, the friends.
Friends. This is a nice one. What is your proudest accomplishment? Oh no, missed out a question, sorry. What is your biggest complaint about your job?
Fuck my job. Don't get enough sleep.
What is your proudest accomplishment?
I haven't really accomplished anything yet, but I will soon.
Next one is about what is your favourite book to read? There's so many books, haven't we? So many spiritual books.
Too much, that is. They're all, to be honest, they're all flavourful. Any Prabhupada book, but at the moment I'm getting into some poetry books.
Oh yeah.
That's just right now.
Satsvit Maharaj
poetry books. They're like kind of artistic and out there poetry. At the moment, that's what I'm on.
Yeah. You writing any poetry yourself? Are you still working on your bars?
I got some bars now.
Okay, we should do another Kirtan. Are you rapping it?
Yeah.
I think it worked, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at now. What makes you laugh the most?
I don't know, banter.
Okay. What did you want to be when you were small?
I wrote I wanted to be either Amish, a monk.
Amish?
Yeah.
Like those guys in some of the Dexter's Laboratory episode. That.
Yeah. Well, when I was this is more recent. That was I wanted to be Amish monk or a shaman. But before that, I think I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
A fighter pilot, Top Gun.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. If you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be? Anything. I don't know.
Just what I'm doing every day anyway.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
I do want to walk around Govardhan Hill.
Yeah.
I want to try that.
Okay, that's a nice one.
Yeah. This place in India, in Vrindavan, like a holy place. There's a big mountain, and you can walk around it. And it's everyone who's walking around it is very happy. I've been told.
It takes I don't know how long, 6-7 hours to walk around it, something like that.
Yeah.
But you see, like even these very old couple, they'll do Dundervats around it, which means they lie on the floor, and they stand up, they take a step, and they lie on the floor again, stand up, take a step, lie on the floor, and they do that all the way around. And it takes them months.
Like bowing down to God.
Yeah, it's because
I would like to do that, but there's no time for it.
They said whenever you go around Govardhan, wherever they'll fulfill any desire. So people go there wanting any material things or spiritual things, and they get it granted. You know.
What's your deepest desire, Gopal?
A deepest desire?
Yeah, like what do you want more than anything?
I don't know. I mean, my probably answer on the piece of paper would be I want to love Krishna with, in the association of the devotees, my spiritual master and teachers, and really, become who I'm really meant to be.
Self-realization, realize who you are.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite game or sport to watch and play?
MMA, UFC, jiu-jitsu, just fighting. Like,
would you rather ride a bike, ride a horse, or ride a car?
A bike, horse, or a car?
Yeah.
Bike all day. Like.
Okay. What would you sing on a karaoke night?
Hare Krishna. My mantra.
Which would you rather do? Wash dishes, mow the lawn, clean the bathroom, or vacuum the house?
Mow the lawn.
Okay. If you could hire someone to help you, would it be with cleaning, cooking, or yard work?
Cleaning.
If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pizza.
And who's your favourite author?
Prabhupada.
Okay.
Oh no, Sri Swami.
Is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's both equal.
Yeah. Okay.
That was quite fun.
Yeah, I got to know back to Rupert
I got to learn a bit about myself.
Yeah. Ask the questions, get the answers. They weren't particularly deep questions. I mean, they could have been, actually. What's your greatest fear and stuff like that?
What's your greatest fear?
I don't know. Heights.
My greatest fear is going back to where I was before. Like, before I moved in. And
I think I sometimes look, if I hadn't, joined the ashram, and, where would I be now? My life was really, like, what's the...
Yeah. My trajectory was definitely going down. Like, I'd probably... Yeah, I could be... probably could be homeless.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I probably wouldn't be because my dad wouldn't let it happen. But like,
Yeah.
I was getting down there. I was going a bit mad, like
Yeah.
drugs and stuff like that.
I remember I started, getting, stopping bad habits even before I came to Krishna consciousness. I remember but I don't know if that would have continued up because I was still, I remember I still wasn't in a good place, like, But
I was literally just happy to. I was pressing self-destruct, like. It's just because I was 100% convinced that this world is just we're in a computer. Like this is just a simulation, so nothing matters whatsoever. Absolutely nothing matters.
Then you could be like, do you remember Teabag?
Yeah, in Swansea.
In Swansea, yeah.
Big homeless guy, like.
Yeah, he used to really smell, and people like for some reason thought he was amazing because I think there was this one time where he found some money on the street and he gave it back to someone, and he became a legend. But those of us who actually knew him, he was actually a horrible person. he was because he used to just really be nasty to us, and he's very proud. You think, oh, he's so humble because he's homeless, but it's because he either used to teach or study philosophy, and he actually used to think that he was better than everyone else because he thought that he renounced this world or something, So it was like, and then when he passed away, they wanted to make a statue of him in Swansea, a statue of Teabag. So
if anyone doesn't know who he is, Teabag. Is his name Teabag?
We used to call him Teabag.
Yeah, everyone used to call him Teabag. He looked like Hagrid, like a big homeless guy that carried around like bin bags.
He really
smelled bad. Like you could smell him coming. Like, but he was very well known in Swansea. But he died a couple of years ago.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, hopefully.
But that's the thing. You could become homeless and renounced, but you can still be proud and very materialistic in one sense.
Yeah, sounds like me.
No, you're a great soul.
It's interesting though. That's one thing I'm realizing. Like doing the monk thing is like. At first, when I moved in, it was like, yeah, okay, I've renounced the world. Like I'm in this spiritual atmosphere. I'm free,
Mm-hmm.
But then after a couple of years, it's like, oh, whoa. Like all of my motivations are actually materialistic. Like I haven't got any spiritual.
Yeah, I mean, that's advancing spiritual life, though, isn't it? From within the heart, Krishna shows you, okay, you want to work on this now, I see, and then he reciprocates, and then you start to really have to deal with yourself. But it's all good, It's like when you have to really clean somewhere, then you start to find really disgusting bits, like under the toilet or here or there, or you don't really see how much dirt and muck is in a place until you really start to clean it.
Yeah.
So you might think you're okay, but when you actually start to develop yourself, you might discover all these nasty things.
But it's not like a bad thing. Like it's not like you'd think that all these material motivations, I feel depressed.
Yeah, no, it's
actually
a thing.
You feel refreshed. You're like, I'm not perfect. Like there's something very powerful in accepting you're not perfect.
Well, it's like the cleaning example. If you really want to clean a place, if you cut a scene to halfway through, it'll look way more messy than when it started. You have to pull everything out, put everything. It becomes more messy before it becomes clean again.
Yeah.
So the same thing with our hearts. Sometimes it'll look a bit more of a mess than when we started, but actually that's because we're just starting to really clean the place.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
So
yeah, take a step out. Think about who you are and where you're going, isn't it? Is that the motto? How would you recap that podcast?
I mean, a little homework for anyone listening, write a little mission statement.
Oh yeah.
Look online what a mission statement is, but basically is, okay, this is what this is who I am, what do I want to achieve, and then you can write some simple goals in order to achieve it.
Will you do one?
You've
done one?
I've done one before, but
I think I'll do one.
Yeah, do one. Yeah, you can read that
I'll
next
read
time.
it out.
Yeah.
That's my mission.
Okay.
That's a Sankalpa. I promise I will do that.
Mission statement. Okay, stay tuned for next episode here. Back to Rupa's mission statement.
Nice.
Okay.
Thanks. Sorry for.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Lots of love.
I feel very.
God bless. I feel chilled.
Chilled today. Like.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Bhaktarina Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Bhaktarina Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.